Are we live? I think we are. Maybe? I don't know. Okay, apparently we are live.
白岩学園3年 B 組の皆さん、こんにちは。
Alright, good afternoon. So, actually I'm gonna leave this image up because I like it. It's the original image that I actually had before I started using the slightly darker one with the clouds. Anyhow, just as a friendly reminder, perhaps more to myself than anybody else, this is a stream of peace. We here at Equilux live streams do not advocate or endorse anything at all. We do not exhort anyone to perform any activities or to do anything in particular. This stream is purely about analysis and discussion. No more, no less. Diversity macht frei. Israel is our greatest ally. Alright, now then. So, I went ahead and decided to plan for a little itty-bitty event for tonight, and to be perfectly honest, it's kind of weighing on me a little bit, but I think it'll be fun. I don't want to say, excuse me, I don't want to say what it is, just in case I jinx the energy, because there's like, there's a little bit of planning involved, and if it goes off, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be super fun. So anyway, I started late because yeah, like I've got a couple of things in my head, and I allowed myself to get caught up in thought, which is completely silly on my part. So my apologies for that. Not that anyone cares. I'm not getting paid for this. Nobody gives a rat's ass. But what are you gonna do? Anyhow, let's see here. I'm going to check in on my own stream, and I'm gonna give myself a like, because why not? Okay, I'm done. Anyway, let's see here. Oh yeah, here. Sometimes, yeah, my volume sometimes gets really low, and for some reason, here, I guess I'm gonna crowd the mic. I do this all the time. It's not good. I actually need to get myself some sound equipment. In all honesty, this is not a great setup. But the problem, of course, is that getting sound equipment that actually costs money, and I don't have freaking money. So it's a huge pain in the ass, but whatever. Anyway, my apologies. Now then, the day has been, well, I guess it hasn't been terribly eventful. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday that the Candace Owens hearing happened. So there was the hearing that happened on, I guess it was Wednesday, right? I think it was Wednesday, yeah. That was the one with the chick from the ADL, and then the one yesterday, that was the one featuring Candace Owens, who radicalized the shit out of me. And after having watched I haven't watched all of the second one, the one with Candace Owens, because it's also a giant shit show. But what I did catch of it, it's very telling that they are legitimately, they're saying, like, with a straight face, they're saying that evil white nationalists have a particular set of ideas about how, you know, the white race is in trouble or whatever, and then they go on to say, oh yeah, but actually these talking points are factually correct. They actually say that. They say that. These people in these hearings, they are legitimately saying that these evil WN people are actually correct, and that the, quote, radicalization, end quote, is occurring because people are noticing reality. They're talking about manipulation. I mean, this is known. It's known that this is happening. For those who keep up with, Twitter politics and so on, and YouTube, people know, we're all aware, everyone knows that the algorithms are being manipulated. And at the same time, these algorithms, they're being discussed within Twitter realm, and now the government itself is having discussions with other groups to say, you know what, we really should be monitoring what the population says. What the fuck? In effect, what they are saying is that they distrust. They're saying that the population that they are purportedly representing, they're saying that this population that they purportedly represent, they don't like us. I can't stress that enough. That's reprehensible. They're actually saying that we represent you, but you're also the enemy. You're also evil. Vote for us, but you're evil. I mean, this is crazy talk. This is not possible. This cannot stand forever. This is not possible to keep going into the future. This system, this program of a government that dislikes us. So I'm just gonna call it out. I'm gonna call it out. I honestly think that the U.S. federal government has lost all claims to legitimacy. I mean, all claims to legitimacy. I mean, as a net institution. There are people within the U.S. federal government that I don't mind. There are a couple of people that I think are pretty swell. Few, but a couple. And on a net level, no, I don't see it as being legitimate at all. Let's see here. It's afraid. Yeah, exactly. Kevin Burger King. Yeah, it is afraid. It's 100% afraid. And it's super... Oh, freaking Ash is here. Oh, heck yeah. Alright, well, if Ash is here, I'm going to... Ash, if you have the ability to pop on, I'm going to generate a link. If not, that's fine too. Let's see here. Where are we? Oh my god, my computer is so slow. This is horrible. There we are. There we are. Okay. So, now that I've spent a clean 20 seconds on a super simple operation, yeah, Ash, if you have the ability to pop on, I'm gonna throw a link into Telegram, and if you can't, that's fine too. That just means that I wasted about 45 seconds generating a link, which is okay too. At any rate, yeah, I'm gonna try to get through the rest of the hearing, the second hearing with Candace Owens. Interestingly, one of the things that they mentioned in the you can't even make this up. You can't make this up. So the oh no. Okay, that's funny. Yeah, I had myself a glass and a half of wine too, which was too much. Oh no, I had 2 small glasses and then another sip of wine. Now the glasses were only like 4 ounces each, so it's not really a glass of wine, but still, I've gotten so used to cutting back on sugar that any time that I have over a certain amount, I just go crazy. And so the same thing, I get it anyway. So one of the people at the hearing, you can't even make this up, one of the people in the hearing said, I shit you not, actually said the 1350 meme. One of the guys, it was a male, I can't remember which guy it was, but it was in the Candace Owens one, and it was within the first half, I want to say within the first third of the big hearing. The guy actually said that in Chicago, he didn't say the word despite, but he did say that in Chicago, blacks are 13% of the population, and they account for over 50% of murders. He actually said that. He said that. Our memes are somehow making it into these hearings. We gotta meme fucking harder, man. Now, of course, you know, there's what, like 4 people here, so you know, I'm not saying that we're the ones that are gonna change the course of human history or anything, but the point still stands. The actual, like the real memes that we use, those are starting to filter their way into public discourse. All it takes is enough people doing this, and you know, it's amazing. It's incredible what can happen in the freaking hearing. In the hearing, oh my god. So anyway, yeah, I think that the I think that the hearing is going to be a great thing to explore and critique. There are all manner of lies and conflations that are going on. There's this one chick that apparently she looks like she's in her early 30s or something. Excuse me. And she apparently spent like a portion of her college life researching the Ku Klux Klan or something like that. from the 80s. So like within a certain band of time, and she chose the 80s for a reason that I have no idea. I can't explain that. It doesn't make any sense. And so she ends up talking a lot about how there are all these groups that have certain kinds of ideas and plans and blah, blah, blah. And it's amazing that, like, some of the things that these people are going on about, like, they're kind of right. The best lies, of course, are the ones that are mixed with truth. And these people, they are 100% glancing up against truth. Make no mistake, these people are liars. These people are scoundrels. These people should not be believed at all. And one of the reasons that I want to continue, rather I want to finish the hearing with Candace Owens, is because I think it might be good to start clipping these hearings and start pointing out that they are aware that all of the talking points being uttered by the people that they are attacking and maligning and lying about, namely us, all of our talking points are reality. And they know this. And yet they are attacking us for protesting the things that they are forcing on us. And they're declaring our protests as hate speech. Protest itself is effectively hate speech now. I feel the same way, Ash. Because I had mentioned this in last night's stream, but I'm perfectly happy to mention it again, which is that Candace had a retarded idea about some app that would, on a functional level, be a doxing app, which is not good. That's terrible. It's a bad idea. And I think that she rightly should absolutely be made fun of for such a fucking idiotic idea. Now, outside of that one beef, I don't actually have anything against her. Like, whatever she wants to do, fine, great. But it's obvious that the only reason that she was chosen is because the Republicans are now playing the identity politics game, and they think, like a regular MAGA-pede, they think that they can reason with all of these communists by playing their own tricks against them. We'll put in someone that's unimpeachable. We'll put in a black female. To her credit, Candace Owens did actually turn around some of the attacks on her, and she did invoke basically black privilege so as to trounce the other two women that were attacking her. But of course, the main issue here is that this is a hearing that's ostensibly about WN, and we don't have, I mean, of course, we, I get it, who is the we, whatever, but the point is that, nominal we, we have no representation. We're not being represented. We can't defend ourselves. We're being told that we cannot even protest the things that are happening to us. So we can't protest because it's hate speech. And when they have hearings that are about us, in which they decry our protests, we don't even have representation when they are attacking us. So they attack us. We, on the streets and legally, we can't do anything. They have court hearings about us. We can't be there. Like, this is taxation without representation. Like, on a basic level, that's genuinely what this is. We are not being represented. If we are not being represented, then that means that the government is completely illegitimate. The government can only be legitimate if it is representing the will of the people. Obviously, the U.S. federal government is not representing the will of the people. How do we know that? Because, question, how do we know that? Answer, they are demographically replacing us. They're, according to the UN, they're basically genociding us, to reduce the population in whole or in part. That's what's happening right now. They are reducing our population in part. Not in whole, but definitely in part. And they're doing it every year. as we all know, there was that guy from, I think it was the SPLC, and he had the population, the white population of America up on his freaking window. That's creepy shit, bro. That's really, really creepy stuff. And this guy, like, these guys are, they've got the ear of the government. I don't have the ear of the government. I mean, okay, so press 1 if you do have the ear of the government in chat. Press 2 if you do not have the ear of the government in chat. I know where I am on this one. I don't know of anyone that has the ear of the government. And yet, the ADL, the SPLC, and so on, they have the ear of the government. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely... It's unconscionable what we are putting up with. And we are well within our rights to protest. We are well within our rights to object. And I think that we should be objecting in a much more vocal manner. At the moment, now, I do understand that, comfort is one of the, comfort kills. Motorcycle riders, they say that a lot, comfort kills. And the idea is that with a motorcycle rider, they will tend to get closer and closer and closer to cars until over time they end up hearing their the fabric of their pants as their knees brush up against cars. This is what happens when you get comfortable. And right now, yeah, exactly right, your representative. Oh God, yeah, if only that worked. So yeah, we right now are still comfortable, and I think the only way that people will start to move into more energetic protesting, objections, whatever you want to call it, I think the only way is if people, let's see here, press 3 if you have the balls of the government. Oh no, one can only wish. I think people are just, I'm starting to agree. I think people are going to have to get uncomfortable. And right now, we are not, the only ones that are uncomfortable are those of us that are able to project into the future. So, for example, we here in this itty-bitty little stream, we are capable of looking into the future, looking into a possible future, and noticing what those of us who do have kids, or those of us who would want to have kids, we are capable of looking into a possible future where our kids, should we have them or not, but again, just for pretend's sake, where our kids are suffering indignities, where they are suffering attacks, malicious attacks that have nothing to do with them personally, just being born the wrong skin color. It's so lame. And we're horrified because we're able to understand what that future could be. Now, I happened to have first-hand experience. I'm old enough to have been through the '92 riots in Los Angeles, and at the time I happened to be in school, and I remember exactly what that was like. It was really, really bad. I know what it's like to be a minority in school. It blows. I know they didn't like me because I was white. This is just how it is. This is just how it is. So I know what the possible future could be like for white kids. Indeed, if you just go to a school, I was shocked. I was going down the street, I think it was last year. I was going down the street, and I was like a block away from I think it was a junior high, but I'm not sure. Anyway, a bunch of kids went across the street because, they just got out of school. I could see the uniforms. And then as I looked, as the kids were passing directly in front of me, I couldn't help but notice that they were basically like 90% Mexican kids. And nothing against Mexican kids. Like, I don't really care. But the point is that, well, just imagine being a white kid in that school. Imagine being a white kid in that school. Now imagine that those Mexican kids have been told since birth that white people are bad. If you're a white kid in that school, it's not looking good for you. You're going to be called a colonizer or whatever. You know, it's lame. It's a really, really unpleasant situation. Because now, not only are you the minority, you're also an evil minority. One who is at fault for, you know, XYZ thing that you never did, but you're still being accused of it. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Anyhow, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a track because music. I should have put some music together, but I didn't. So that's my bad. Where are we? Videos? Yes. No. We're going to go to downloads. I do want to play some Mitch Murder. You know, I like Mitch Murder. I'm going to play Mitch Murder. There we are. There we are. This is a great track. I freaking love this track. Okay, so this is Melting Point by Mitch Murder, and I'm going to have myself some water. So, AFK BRB. All right, so that was good old Mitch Murder. Great big fan. He's, I want to say Swedish or something like that. And just some weirdo that makes music. And I love it. There is one hell of an article in front of me. And I kind of want to read it. It's a bit big, but I mean, it's kind of neat. Oh, look at that. Freaking Sin is here. All right, well, look at this. All right, I'm going to foolishly send a link over to Sin as well, just in case, because why not? Anyhow, so the article here is amazing. This article, let's see here, what about, there I am. This article has as its main heading in bold, ignore it at your peril. Holy cow. That's a hell of a thing. One hell of a thing. To some place called Tablet Mag, whatever that is. Alright, and there's a little tiny excerpt, like a subheading that says, just because Trump said it doesn't mean it's not true. The Democratic Party is becoming unsalvageable. Holy cow. Isn't that amazing? Now, this is an old article. This is from August the 22nd. So this is, okay, Sin might be able to make it. Nice. Well, then I'm going to skim the article just in case Sin can make it. If not, that's fine too. But I'm going to go through and just read a little bit. I think I'm mostly just going to focus on the first sentence of the given paragraphs. This looks, it was written by Leil Leibovitz, and I have no idea what I'm about to wade into, so I'm just going to read a couple of sentences here and there. I'm going to flit through it and just see what happens. Okay. Earlier this week, my colleague, wise and empathetic, holy cow, that's a hell of a word, Collie Pildis, whoever that is, wrote a thoughtful and powerful piece about the political future of American fellow whites. In it, she argues that the Democratic Party, notwithstanding a handful of problematic and relatively inconsequential congresswomen, gee, I wonder who they are, is still the most safe and welcoming space for fellow whites, while the president is guilty of rhetoric that is downright anti-Semitic, whatever that word means. It is in the spirit of Carly's call to dialogue that does not shy away from unpleasant assertions that I would like to offer two observations about the political future of American fellow whites. The first has to do with the unthinkable descent of the Democratic Party into being not just blind to anti-fellow white bigotry, but an engine of it. We can argue about when and exactly how does this happen. I'll leave the ultimate timelines to historians, but to keep things simple, let's connect only the most recent dots. Very important stuff is about to happen here. Shortly after Trump was elected, the left moved into resistance mode. The feelings here were entirely understandable. I myself found Trump's election deeply worrisome. But very quickly, the energy began to be channeled into causes and outfits with deep and clear anti-Semitic associations, including, most prominently, the Women's March. Over the course of 2 years, the leaders of this organization, Hang Hassanas and Louis Farrakhan, flagrantly used Nation of Islam as security, and used their influence to reframe Israel as the world's biggest state criminal. Quite a feat when you have such a calamity happening next door. Oh ho ho, tut tut tut. fellow whites expressed their discomfort, but time and again we ignored, even told by some of their own leadership, by some of our own rabbis, that to want people in shared spaces simply not to foment vicious hatred of us was to selfishly, quote, center ourselves, end quote. Well, that would be terrible. Could you... Let's just take a moment to think about how awful that is. I mean, they are valiantly allowing themselves, being 2% of the population, they are valiantly allowing themselves to not be selfish and center themselves. You know, big clap, very big clap for that. Okay, continuing. After Tablet published a multi-word, 10,000-word expose revealing that the Women's March leadership was veritably soaked in hatred for fellow whites and the land of milk and honey, some prominent people in the DNC, parenthetical though not all, and parenthetical, finally felt compelled to distance themselves from these obvious bigots. Then came the midterm elections. This is a very dramatic piece. Whoever wrote this is a very theatrical person and should be given a screenplay. During it, a young candidate named Ilhan Omar emerged and immediately attracted the adoration of progressives, including fellow white voters in her own hometown. Well, at some point, someone surfaced a 2012 tweet in which she argued that Israel had, quote, hypnotized the world, end quote. Can you imagine? Can anyone here just imagine a Muslim saying something disparaging about Israel? That's a lot to take in. Let's continue. A few polite fellow whites apologetically asked if she might pretty please explain to everyone that she didn't actually mean to reference a long-time anti-Semitic canard. She ignored them, perhaps because she knew that no one in the DNC establishment would care or ever push her on it. Things got worse. When meeting with fellow white constituents whose votes she wanted, Omar flatly told them what she knew they wanted to hear. Can you imagine a politician saying things that people want to hear? Gosh, this is a really scathing article. Let's continue. That she supported a two-state solution and didn't believe in BDS. After getting many of them to vote for her, she took it all back, even sponsoring a bill in support of BDS within months of joining Congress. None of Omar's fellow Democratic Congress members called her out on this for this sharp reversal, and neither the New York Times nor the Washington Post gave much, if any, ink. Can you imagine not giving any ink to this? Holy cow. This is deep. Then came Omar's, quote, all about the Benjamins tweet, which outright accused fellow whites of using their money to buy influence and force America into supporting Israel. A potent mix of several anti-Semitic tropes, from one Semitice. There we are. Yeah, it's funny. Trying to keep myself from getting flagged for words. Anyway, from one of the accusing fellow whites of dual loyalty to one posting that fellow whites that fellow white money makes the world go round. Okay, there we are. Some on the left condemned Omar, but many others rushed to her defense, creating hashtag I stand with Ilhan that soon went viral. sakes, child. Then, last week came the storm following Israel's decision to ban Rashida Tlaib and Omar from visiting. Soon after, it was revealed that their trip was to be sponsored by a Palestinian organization called Miftah. Quote, much of the chatter and gossip about historical fellow white blood rituals in Europe are real and not fake as they claim, end quote, read an article posted on the organization's website as reported by the Washington Free Beacon. Quote, fellow whites used the blood of Christians in the Jewish Passover, end quote. The article goes on to criticize then-President Barack Obama for hosting a Seder in the White House. Quote, does Obama in fact know the relationship, for example, between, quote, Passover, end quote, and, quote, Christian blood, end quote? The article continues, quote, or Passover, end quote, and, quote, fellow white blood rituals, end quote, end quote. Wowzers. I feel like I'm really getting a lot of very important information out of this article, so I'm going to continue. Let's go on. Did prominent voices in the Democratic Party rush to defend the fellow whites from these obvious and dangerous canards? I wish. I'm sorry, Leibovitz. No one came to your defense. They should have selfishly centered themselves. Leibovitz, you've got some things to learn about how to operate in the world. Continuing, the Washington Post described Miftah as a nonprofit headed by, quote, longtime peace negotiator Hanan Ashral, end quote, and the New York Times contextualized as a, quote, group dedicated to raising global awareness and knowledge of Palestinian realities, end quote. Peter Beinart went on CNN to defend Ashral and her group as paragons of goodwill. Instead, the entity that came under fire was, ... you guessed it, a hailstorm of wails about the death of democratic norms ensued, all culminating in a, quote, a hashtag boycott Israel trend on Twitter, pushed by many of the same sort of polite people behind the last big boycott of the fellow whites. Next, both Congresswomen shared the same cartoon by Carlos Latouf, a notorious anti-Semite illustrator who, in 2006, had placed second in Iran's infamous Holocaust-denying cartoon contest. No Democratic congressperson said a peep. Neither the Times, nor the Washington Post, nor CNN covered it. We have to stop talking about preventing the Corbynization. That's, what's his face? Something or other, Corbyn from England. We have to stop talking about preventing the Corbynization of the Democratic Party because it is already here. I think it's time that Leibovitz start to center. I think it's time. It's time for her to be selfish and to start to center, because this is, yeah, it's getting intense. Anyhow, let's see here. It's already here. There we are. Friends, : so now this is the addresser, the author addressing everyone reading. So by proxy, so I'm reading this, so obviously this is directed to me, clearly, and by proxy it's also directed to everyone else here. Isn't that nice? Friends, we have to stop talking about preventing the Corbynization of the Democratic Party because it is already here. She just said that. This is the start of a new whatever, anyway. And if you don't believe me, If you want to draw a line under all of the above and hope that all the Democratic Party needs is some gentle nudging and organization, I have bad news for you. The next thing coming down the pike is even worse. Worse was italicized, by the way, so it's a lot worse, not a little bit worse. Earlier this year, Representative Betty McCollum, Democrat, Minnesota, introduced a bill in the House of Representatives entitled H.R. 2047, Promoting Human Rights for Palestinian Children Living Under Israeli Military Occupation Act. I'm having a hard time with that one. That's probably the most intense thing I've read all night, all evening. I mean, what do you even say to that? Advocating for human rights for Palestinian children? And she probably did that in broad daylight. She probably did that with a straight face. Dang, Betty McCollum, settle down. In June, a host of high-profile Democrats co-sponsored her bill, including Seth Moulton, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib. This is intense. The bill's purpose is to require that, quote, United States funds do not support military detention, interrogation, abuse, or ill-treated Palestinian children, end quote. It then goes on to present a long list of citations from reports compiled by non-government organizations that accuse Israel of everything from applying coercive interrogation techniques against children as young as 11 to holding minors for days without trial. My gosh. I mean, at least they're not separating children or anything. Continuing. You could easily tear apart most of the bill's cherry-picked claims by claiming... Okay, so this is all about the bill. Yeah, okay. I don't care if it's American kids, Mexicans, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I don't care if it's Cajun kids. Okay, yeah, so Ocasio-Cortez is taking a stand. But it's anti-Semitic, except of course the bill doesn't pay attention to Mexico and South Africa, blah, blah, blah. So now the writer is pissed off that Ocasio-Cortez is invoking other people. Standards for Israel, no standards for everybody else. Continuing, rather reverse, standards for everybody else, no standards for Israel. If it had, we'd have been on solid moral ground. Instead, this bill, backed by a cadre of House Democrats who abjure an anti-Semitism in theory, and yet astonishingly managed to, quote, accidentally, end quote, perpetrate it over and over, tracks in an eerily perfect way with a long and murderous tradition, fantasizing that fellow whites have a special fondness for killing, abducting, maiming, or otherwise abusing non-fellow white children and leading mobs to attack them based on these accusations. Holy cow, listen to this next bit. This is great. I love this. Alright, here we go. The phenomenon dates back to at least 1144 Anno Domini, the year of our Lord Christ, 1144, when a young boy, William Norwich, was found dead in the forest near his home in central England with stab wounds covering his body. A local monk, Thomas Monmouth, claimed that little William was murdered by a global cabal of fellow whites who each year choose one Christian child to sacrifice in accordance with their sinister religion. The story spread. William was considered a martyr, and decades of pogroms against the fellow whites were promptly launched. Pogrom, by the way, is a word that comes from Russian, if I recall correctly, so to say that pogroms followed is technically incorrect according to language use. But let's continue. They were intensified, pogroms intensified, in 1255, when the lifeless body of an 8-year-old named Hugh was found in a well in the English town of Lincoln. A local fellow white named Copin was forced to confess and repeat the old story about ceremonial killing of Christian children and citizens, and dozens of fellow whites were arrested and executed. By 1290, the recurring fabrications about fellow white obsession with harming innocent children led the crown to expel all fellow whites, a decree that lasted centuries. Wowzers. Let's see here. Ash is asking if I can resend the link. Yes, I can. Where are we? Messages. There we are. And that should be good. Should be good. So I sent the link on Twitter, and I'm gonna resend it on Telegram. So there we go. There we go. Situation handled. Sorry about that. Okie doke. Anyhow, Kevin Burger King. I'm reading some kind of like an article or whatever from I got it in my email. I got onto a bunch of email lists, and I should probably clean out my inbox because I have no idea what the hell is in it. And this one, it just caught my attention. It just caught my eye, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta read this. So that's why I'm reading it. I don't know where the hell did it come from. I've got no idea who this person is. I mean, this is clearly it's a blind carbon copy. It's a BCC, so obviously I'm a part of some kind of a list. So I'm on someone's list, apparently. Who knew? I really need to be better about my emails. It's not good. It's actually really not good. Yeah, I should get a new email, in all honesty. Because this one is just, it's unmanageable. When I was younger, I got an account, and I kept giving it out like an idiot because I was like in my 20s or whatever, and you know, you're foolhardy and you don't worry about it, and you're just like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna go ahead and, you know, sign up for this, that, and the other thing. Or, oh, you know, someone asks for your email, you give it to them like a retarded person, and then you just get like scores of emails, and you're like, I can't deal with this. And so now, like, the only way that I could make my email manageable is if basically I just started blocking everyone. I would have to block basically, yeah, like everybody. Everyone would have to get blocked. That's not good. That kind of defeats the purpose of having an email account. So whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna go all the way down. So basically, blood libels. Talib is talking about blood libels for like a long period of time. What else? You can point out president's many flaws. Cabinet members, okay, going back and forth. More Trump, more Zionism, blah blah blah. So where does all of this leave us American fellow whites? Well, there's an answer to this. Here we go. Many of us are losing a bunch of sleep these days, feeling as if the world may be coming to an end, but it's not, but it is changing, which is history's single defining characteristic, and the thing that makes human life on this planet so terrifying and so thrilling. And historically speaking, fellow whites who refused to take heed when things started changing dramatically all around them very often wound up as not living fellow whites. Let us then observe these changes candidly and without succumbing to the pressures of screaming ideologues on either side. The party our parents voted for, the party we thought would be ours for eternity. Think about that for just a moment. Let's rewind there for just a moment. The party our parents voted for, the party we thought would be ours for eternity, appears to be well on its way to becoming something entirely hostile to fellow whites. The president, we are told again and again, is the single greatest menace to our community. Is many things, but certainly not that. Oh, so he's not a menace. So he's a menace to some, but not to others, depending on who you talk to. Here's the final paragraph. What you choose to do with these realities is entirely up to you. Decent people will likely invest their energies in divergent projects, working in good faith to create a safe and sustainable future for themselves and their children. We may still disagree. We may still find ourselves divided on important substantive questions, from immigration to healthcare reform to foreign policy. Arguing, after all, is our birthright. So it is. One would say maybe it's a culture of critique. But if we grow addicted to the narcotic effect of absurd histrionics masquerading as moral outrage on social media, and if we insist that observable reality take a back seat to our feverish fantasies and desperate hopes, we'll find ourselves the authors of a new and particularly bleak chapter of the timeless fellow white story. So let's see here. If we grow addicted to the narcotic effect of absurd historic masquerading as moral outrage on social media, if we insist that observable reality take a back seat to our feverish fantasies and desperate hopes. Okay, so they've got desperate hopes, and they're allowing the desperate hopes to overtake reality. Okay. And they're also allowing their absurd histrionics to masquerade as moral outrage. I actually agree with that analysis. If they just calmed down, like, I wouldn't give a crap. I don't care overall. You know, like, in all honesty, if all of them would oh, freaking heck yes, look at this. Okay. Poseidon Live, big super do hello to Poseidon Live. How's it going, buddy? I'd send you a link, but, well, okay, for the sake of formality, I'm going to send you a link, but I do understand that you just got through with a super long stream, so I'm not actually expecting you to pop on or anything. It's just a formality. But yeah, still, always welcome. Anyhow, so yeah, excuse me, sorry, lost my train of thought. So yeah, it looks like the whole thing with oh, freaking Ash showed up. Look at this. Alright. I'm just gonna get my my situation handled. I'm going to put together my anti-boomer tech headset so that I don't have echoes piping through, because we don't need that. Alright, I'm gonna reduce volume a touch. Looks good. Taking out all the boomer tech, and I think we're good, so we're going to move over to window cap. We're going to transition, and hey Ash, how you doing? Are you there? Oh no, I just realized that I didn't Ash has probably been here for like 2 or 3 minutes, and she's like, oh well, I guess Eka is just doing whatever the hell, which I was. Anyway, I'm going to continue on with my thought Oh wait, there's Ash. Hello, are you
Okay.
there?
There. Yes, I got it. Sorry. I had to fix or adjust the settings on the Hangout. Sorry. How's it
Ah,
going, Eke?
it's going good. It's going good. My evening is going well, surprisingly. I had a pizza and beer last. I miss pizza and beers. Going keto is rough. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I did that, so I'm going right back into the diet. So
Dude, it's hard. If you like step away for one day in order to get back into it, it's like excruciating. It
yeah.
kind of sucks when you like scourge for one day. Because I went to so the town I'm living in had a local Oktoberfest in September. I don't know, but so I went and like I don't normally drink, and if I do, it's nothing more than like one glass or one bottle of beers. But tonight I went kind of big, had a couple Hefeweizens,
Ah,
and I regretted it. It was like 7.9%. And
oh, you
oh
gotta
my
be
gosh.
careful of
It
that
was,
stuff, man.
oh, I know.
I mean,
Yeah,
I love it.
but
I love it. Because last night I just had one beer, but because I've been scaling down, the combination of the heavy carb dump from the pizza in combination with the beer, like I was blitzed
yeah,
for like
yeah.
half an hour or
At
something.
least you ate bread with it though. So like I
Yeah,
was on an empty stomach, which is like even worse. But
yeah. But I had an IPA, and I haven't had.
oh, those
I
are heavy.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
heavy beer.
yeah. Yeah. It's hard to explain, but I really do like the Japanese sensibility of palate, where what they do is they have, what is it like? It's sweet, salty, sour, and bitter, or spicy, right? One of those, I forget. Anyway, what they like to do in some circles, aesthetes, you know how they are. They will have representations of the different tastes of the palate, and I like that. I think it's great because then you end up with kind of like a counterpoint. If you have something that is bitter versus something that is sweet or salty or whatever, it highlights, it accentuates the opposite taste. So I like to have, I used to like to have bitter beers specifically so that it would accentuate whatever I was eating. So I got like a little tiny reminder of that life last night.
Yeah, Japanese, they have a lot of really cool like they have different things with their food. Like if you ever so I got really into like Asian cooking, of course, but Japanese cooking more specifically, they're all about different colors and textures. Like they'll
Yeah, yeah.
they'll usually put things like take for instance a bento box. They're normally not as big as what you would go to like a restaurant and get a bento box. And they're normally pretty big. Traditional Japanese cooking, they don't really do it like that. I mean, they'll have bento boxes, but it's really small. But they always have to have colors, like
Yeah.
so different foods with different colors. So it's just more healthy that way. They eat in smaller increments, or like just smaller amounts and whatnot. But yeah, they're all about that mixing. You'll have something sweet with something salty, with something crunchy, with something like soft. It's actually kind of cool. I respect the Japanese for that.
I'm into it. In fact, I in my own weird way, I ended up doing that myself. Like I kind of adopted that so that whenever I'm making a meal, I like to have a minimum of three tastes in the meal. Bare minimum. There must be three items in the meal. Bare minimum. Um, and after that, that's when I'm like, okay, fine. So I've got this, that, and the other thing, blah blah blah. But I like to start garnishing with other things, and the idea is to have like, yeah, multiple tastes that kind of complement each other. So I noticed that I've started moving into like groupings of food, and yeah, it's great. It makes eating so much more fun. Weirdly though, I miss spicy, and so I'm going to be getting some Tabasco sauce because that should be super low carb. So
Yeah. If you're doing keto, then yeah, Tabasco or Texas Pete. Tabasco is probably my favorite. It's real simple. It's just vinegar, salt, and peppers, basically. I think they put
exactly.
something else in there. It's very simple, very low, like minimal for as far as ingredients go. But
Yeah.
yeah, Tabasco is perfect. Or like even Cholula. I think Cholula's okay too, but it's not. I love vinegar. I'm a Southern
Yeah.
gal. I love my vinegar.
The thing, I mean, yeah, but the thing is that Cholula, that has calories in it, so
Yeah, that'll get you.
yeah, the issue is to stay away from them. And to be sure, like, it's not the, oh my god, yeah, so I have myself an extra couple of calories or whatever. It's not the end of the world. But the thing is that, like, I've been I can't believe it. I'm sort of admitting something that's almost embarrassing, but I've been taking recordings and measurements of just my body and as I live, as I just do things. And one of the measurements is my weight. So I weigh myself and I write it down every day. And yeah, I've been actually losing just a little bit of weight every day. Not a lot, just a little bit. So the thing is that if I add even a little bit of sugar, I'm concerned that my weight will just level off again, and I'm gonna have to go, like, it'll take another day or two to start going back into more fat burning. You see what I mean? Like, it just turns into a big thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about keto. Like, no carbs, no sugar, no
Yeah.
starches, which kind of sucks. I'm a meat and potatoes type of person.
Oh my god.
But
dude.
I actually, you would appreciate this 'cause I know you love to saute your onions. But so one day, and I'm a sucker for cast iron skillets. Like, everything I cook is in
Oh
cast
yeah,
iron.
yeah. I actually, my two favorite things are, I've got an 8-inch cast iron. I want to get a 10-inch or a 12, oh, probably 10-inch. I want to get a 10-inch so that I can cook more stuff with it. But I love my freaking cast iron. It's amazing.
Oh my god, dude, they're amazing. But I did this recipe where I sauteed some onions. I use red onions because they're sweeter. But I sauteed red onions, and then I add them to, like, I make these homemade mashed potatoes. My potatoes are pretty fucking phenomenal because of the seasoning, and I put cream cheese in it to make it like extra creamy. But you add sauteed onions to mashed potatoes. Oh my god, it's so good.
Well,
It's
you add,
literally so good. But if you ever feel like up to eating starches one day, throw in some of your sauteed onions into some mashed
yeah,
potatoes.
yeah.
Oh,
No.
oh,
When I was a little kid, that was called, in my family, that was called bubble and squeak. So you would have, like, leftover mashed potatoes, and then now I ended up being the culinary person in my family, so I'm the only person that does it. But they would just saute onions, or they would just, like, fry a couple of onions in, like, butter or something, and then put that, or, like, fry the old mashed potatoes in with that. The one person that got extra fancy and started doing other stuff, that was me. But yeah, I'm on board. I'm totally on board, and this is a painful conversation to have, in all honesty, because I really want
I
some
know.
mashed
And
potatoes right
I
now.
tell you what else is really good. I know this is really gonna kill you, but if it's not keto, by the way, but if you have leftover mashed potatoes, you can add, depending on their thickness, if you add, like, if they're too soft, if you add just a little bit of flour, you can start making, like, potato pancakes. And you just
Oh
put it
yeah,
in, like, a
yeah.
frying pan. You basically just fry it on one side till it browns, flip it over, fry it again. It's kind of like mashed potatoes or hash browns, but it's mashed potatoes. It's delicious. It's so
No, it
good.
sounds great. Oh my god. Yeah. So okay, I'll go ahead and tell you this one thing.
We're a bunch of foodies here.
I know, it's, well, I mean, after a certain point, you end up realizing that, you know, garbage in, garbage out. You have to think about your diet sooner or later. So I get it. I don't care. It's fine by me. Yeah, exactly. This is 100% a food stream now. This somehow went from talking about culture to now we're just talking about food.
I know.
Whatever. Anyway.
That's all right.
Okay, so I don't know what size your cast iron is, but my little 8-inch cast iron will take two, like, medium-sized, like the larger side of medium-sized onions, and an entire bulb of garlic with a half a stick of butter. And I highly recommend that you try that out. caramelize the onions in butter at the lowest possible heats. Well, maybe not the lowest possible, maybe like a single degree above the, because you want the butter to be just bubbling, but you don't want it to be cooking. You don't want it to turn brown.
You don't want to brown it.
Yeah. So like scale 1 to 10, you want it to be at like 1, maybe 1.5 depending. So yeah, throw in a half stick of butter, 2 onions. I like to chop them down to approximately like 3 to 5 millimeters depending. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect, clearly, because you're going to be cooking for 2 freaking hours, but whatever. Yeah, about several millimeters. And then once you, like, so you heat up the skillet, you put the butter in there, you put in the onions, it's at 1, it's all kind of generally getting hot and cooking, sort of. You know, you peel the garlic bulb, you chop that up. I like to do it fairly fine because I want as much surface area as possible. I want all the oils and flavors to get all throughout the butter. And yeah, just let her, you know, you have to turn it obviously every like 5 minutes or something, and near the end you end up having to reduce the temperature because suddenly during the last like 20 minutes the onions want to burn for some reason. But yeah, anyone that's into cooking onions, the secret, as it turns out, add garlic. That's the secret. If you want the most amazing caramelized onions, garlic. That's all. I'm done.
Yeah, that sounds damn good.
Yeah.
With that cast irons, my husband actually, like, let's see, maybe 4 years ago now, he went on eBay and he found these, they're like antique Griswolds. So if you, I don't know if you know anything about like the cast irons, but and I won't spurg too much, but they started making them in the 1800s. I don't know the exact decade of the 1800s.
Dodge. You've got some from like the early 1900s or something?
So the Griswolds, the reason I'm like a huge advocate for them, because they stopped making them in the 50s, but they started making them in the 1800s, and basically, I mean, they used real American iron.
Oh,
and
nice.
Well, now they kind of outsourced and they use like Chinese metals and whatnot.
Yeah.
But if you can find yourself a Griswold, then you're good to go. But somehow or another, my husband managed to find 3 of them. So I have a 6, a 7, and a 9-inch cast iron. And they all came, whoever had them, like, kept them in pristine condition. They were, like, well-seasoned, perfectly smooth when I got them. But then my dumbass, a couple years ago, I need to, like, redo my 9-inch, but I cooked tomatoes in it, and which is, like, a no-no for cast iron because the acidic. So you don't want to cook with any, like, lemon, no citrus, no tomatoes, no vinegar, because it will destroy.
Yeah. I don't even put,
it will
like,
destroy it.
I wash my cast iron with hot water. You just scrape off the...
no soap. Yeah,
exactly.
That's all you do.
So, like, the only time that there's any water on it is when I'm washing it. The moment I'm done washing it, I immediately throw it onto the oven, onto the stove, and I don't blast the heat, but I turn it up close to medium, so that it all evaporates. The water evaporates immediately, and then I get some oil on that bad boy immediately, because I'm
lard.
always...
If you can get your hands on some lard, then it's even better.
Oh yeah, I keep using
any fat really, but lard's really, really good for
I'm using oil, like cooking oil.
Yeah.
Which isn't great.
That's
I know
good.
that it's not great, so like
It still does it. It's a fat. You just need some type of fat. I just use lard. Well, actually, I haven't used it in a while because I ran out. But yeah, it's just easy to use with your hands and just rub it in there.
Yeah. I accidentally burned a couple of things once or twice on my cast iron, so...
those suckers get hot.
Yeah, I still have some like charcoal, some ash. I have some like real carbon, like actual carbon. Like if you rub your finger on it, you end up with just the tiniest little bit of gray on your finger. I feel a little bit embarrassed about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect the taste much though, so it's okay.
I was thinking about you the other day, or was it yesterday? I went to the grocery store and I was getting some fruit for my daughters, and look over and there they are. Like I see this big bag of Granny Smith apples.
Hell
I
yeah.
remember you saying that's what your grandma used in her pie, and I don't know, I never really got
You know,
into it, but now
okay,
I'm on this pie fix. So I
check
bought
it
a
out.
pie pan
Yeah,
and Granny Smith apples. I'm
do it.
about to I'll probably do it tomorrow, make the
Do it.
dough and stuff.
Do it. Yes. She had a secret for dough as well. If I recall correctly, she ended up using Crisco. I don't know if that's useful at all. And I realized.
Yeah, Crisco. Yep, you have to use shortening.
Yeah, I realized after I was done talking with you that I think what she did was she cut them in like all kinds of weird shapes and sizes. So
she had a variety then. Okay.
yeah, I think that I have a vague recollection of the apple chunks being completely uneven. So you ended up with like some of them being very thin, some of them being very thick. Like as I was saying that you would want to have like a variety of like 2 or 3 sizes or something, but if I recall correctly, they were just sort of like just general sizes of like your thumb or pinky or something, just weird sizes. And then once they start cooking and breaking down, then they start to form the filling, you know. But of course, with some of them being thicker, they will retain some of their integrity and become chunks of apple that have, you know, that classic apple pie bite. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Don't worry too much about the thickness. And now that I think about it, the first time you do anything, you're always going to mess up anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Do it a couple of times, and I'm pretty sure that by the 3rd time, you'll be like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. Okay.
Yeah. I've been playing around with recipes. Like, I don't know what happened to me this summer, but I just went on, like, a pie cooking binge. Everything from peach pie, blackberry pie, apple pie.
Oh, yeah.
There's some guy that's going to give me a whole bunch of pears because he has a pear tree in his yard. He's going to give me a whole bunch of pears to make a pear pie.
Nice. That's actually a really good idea. I think the pears would probably break down. Okay, so the pears would break down, which means that you would have to bolster them with something else.
Yeah, I might have to mix flour in with them.
Yeah, because
like
that's
in order to keep it.
It'll turn into jelly immediately. But I did want to make one mention of one thing that I heard. I've never done it, but I heard it's a good idea. I heard it's a good idea to put in rose hips into an apple pie, and it gives it a very slight peppery flavor. That's what I've heard, but I don't know what apples would go with that. Just throwing that out there as an idea.
Yeah, if I see it on a recipe, then I'll have to try it until I find the perfect. I just want to get it down to a perfect American pie, apple pie.
Dude, sugar and Granny Smiths, man, that's the way to go. Blue ribbon.
Yeah,
Blue ribbon, 2 years. Blue ribbon. My grandma.
That's pretty based. I make like a caramel sauce on the stove, and then I usually do like the lattice work on my pies, and then I'll pour over the caramel sauce. So I'll put like the apples, do the lattice work, and then at the very end, before you put it in the oven, you just like drizzle over the all the caramel sauce that you make.
That's funny.
And it coats the lattice work, and it also, of course, coats all the apples. So you get like this kind of this sugar crust on the lattice. Oh, it's freaking delicious, man. Sorry, I totally did not mean to hijack your stream.
No, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's just reminding me of all the foods that I used to eat. I
know, like you can't really eat. Sorry, I'm like talking about pies, and you're like starving on keto.
I know. It's so lame. Because like my whole diet now, like I don't eat okay, so my big thing is yogurt and honey. That's the only sweet that I really allow myself now. So
yeah, man, honey's delicious. Have you ever tried comb? Here I go again. Have you ever tried honey in the comb?
I can get that, but it's really expensive. There's this one that I'm getting from Trader Joe's. It's orange blossom honey. That one's really good. There's also this raw honey that I get.
Mhm.
It's so amazing. I love it so much.
Sometimes, well, let's see. When I was living in California, I used to go to Whole Foods to get honeycomb because they would usually have like a little container of it. I don't know, anywhere between $10 to $20, which is kind of pricey for fucking honey.
Yeah.
But I like it in the comb. It's really good. Oh man, it's really good in the comb.
I kind of want to try
It's super
some, yeah.
sweet. Oh man, it's delicious.
The only issue, of course, is that I'm trying to cut back on that. So like I eat
Yeah.
it. It's a teaspoon. That's what I allow myself, a teaspoon of honey.
Yeah.
Because the concept is I'm spacing out my sugar spikes to once in the morning and then once at night, and that's it. So if I only have 2 sugar spikes, then that means that it shouldn't be. And I'm trying to group my meals into 2 meals, so I fast from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. period. Today I had a little bit of I cheated. I had some some almond butter because I'm going to do something later on tonight, and I want a little bit of extra energy, so I'm cheating tonight, which isn't great, but whatever. But yeah, the idea is that once I'm done with the second sugar spike, I just don't eat anything, which for like 12 hours, which is supposed to get you back into like fat burning, allegedly. So that might be where my weight loss is happening. But
Yeah,
anyway.
for sure. Yeah, my husband, he'll lose weight like, good God, man, like 10 pounds a week when he's on keto.
Yeah.
So like his body, it'll fluctuate. He can gain weight really quickly, and he can also lose it extremely quickly.
Well,
And
he's also
all
got
that
a lot
keto,
more.
it's amazing.
Yeah, he's much more active than I am, so I'm not
Well,
doing.
plus he has a wife that like cooks it for him. So like all his meals, I do it for him.
Yeah.
So it's not like he has like a hard time doing it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Okay, I can't handle the food talk. I can't handle the food
Yeah,
talk.
I know. Well, the reason I eventually I'm going to try to do a stream where sorry, I'm like totally changing subject now, but
No.
the whole reason I wanted to come on is because I wanted to talk with you, because I know out of all the people I follow on YouTube, Twitter, whatnot, I know that you are one of the ones paying attention to, the rhetoric that's being pushed and the legislation that's trying to get passed.
I'm trying.
And
It's hard to keep up, but I'm trying.
man, oh man. Yeah, but with this whole like the WS laws and legislation or whatever the hell they're trying to do, I just think it's going to backfire, and it's not going to be pretty for them. And obviously I'm not advocating for violence. I'm not trying to Fed post, but I'm just kind of calling out what I eventually see happening, and that's, I don't know. I don't even know how to say it without, like, I'm not trying to get your channel like hit or anything. But I guess what I'm basically trying to say is, if these people aren't careful, there are some bad people out there that are going to do some bad things because of what they're hearing, basically.
Yeah, it's okay to talk about what other people do. It's not okay to talk about what you would do. That's the
Right.
that's the rule of thumb that I go by. So again, my super special qualifier. This is a stream of peace, and we do not advocate that anyone do a goddamn thing. Stay indoors.
Love and inclusion, man.
That's right. We're all about radical love and inclusion. Stay indoors. Have fun
Yeah.
with your ferret, your dog, your cat, whatever, but stay indoors. That's what we want right now.
Shoot, the hearing from yesterday, I had to check to make sure it wasn't like a rerun of a hearing, because I remember they had Candace Owens come in she did another hearing talking about
It's like
white
last year, yeah.
supremacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, wait a minute, is this like am I watching a rerun, or is this like happening again? And then and I know I messaged you earlier about it, but there was a point where I guess Jim Jordan had he had his 5 minutes or whatnot, and he's like, Miss Owens, you have not had a chance to speak. Would you like to say some words now?
Oh,
And
yeah, I saw
of
that.
course, the first thing she fucking does is dive right in. Like, I don't understand. We have 3 Jews and a black girl talking about white supremacy
Yeah.
and white nationalism. Like, what are we doing?
What-
First of all, I mean,
We're all- no,
I'll
I-
just throw that out there.
Wait,
But then you have, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The middle one, the one with the dyed blonde hair and the glasses, she was a gem, was she? Or was she an actual white person? I don't know.
I don't know. Her phenotype looked very particular to me.
Yeah, because the one with the curly hair, she looked like a fellow white. And obviously the guy at the end, he was clearly a fellow white.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it, it's that one's up in the air. I really don't know, but you're correct. 3 and a black chick. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine. No, but there was a point where Jim Jordan's like, Miss Owens, would you like to say anything? And he's like, all right, I'll yield to you my 4 minutes and 30 seconds of time. And then the first thing she does is like, she just immediately dives into how bad the Democrats are for the blacks, and the Democrats are calling out our president, and the Democrats don't want me, a black woman. Like all this, the racial game that she tries to talk against, like is exactly what she's promoting. She comes in pulling her black card, which drives me fucking crazy.
I know.
Like the whole thing, like she's not addressing the issue at hand. And the only what really made me sick and what really occurred, I mean, I kind of picked it up to begin with, but when I saw the camera, it was probably an accident, but the camera like showed Jim Jordan's face and it like zoomed in, and as soon as Candace is done with her little rant, it zooms in on Jim Jordan's face, and he has this smug look on his face like, yeah, boys, we got it, we got that sound bite, you know. And that's really all. And of course they used that sound bite, imagine that, and that's all that's being pushed. So, and what really makes me sick is, of course, like the Democrats are going to do what the Democrats are going to do. We all know they're traitorous commies. But what made me really fucking disgusted was seeing the GOP members. They have an opportunity to sit there and question these people that are pushing for legislation. But instead, what they do is they virtue signal and they grandstand with a black girl. Like, fuck you guys. Like, what are you doing? These people are talking about making corporations, you know, go off of their standards. Like, who the fuck are these people setting these standards? I mean, we already, you know, the fellow tribes members, the fellow whites, and like they're not questioning. I'm talking about the Republicans. They're not questioning them. Instead, they're just, all right, let Candace have her, you know, have her say, and then, you know, nothing gets done. But I don't know. It just kind of made me sick, man. Like nobody. It really is like nobody's coming to save us. Nobody is coming to save us.
Yeah.
In fact, they're out to destroy. That's what it is.
Yeah, basically. I mean, she was a willing pawn, so that doesn't really speak well of her either. And it's like, well, shit. So basically, there are cynical people that are manipulating things, and there are people willing to go along with that manipulation campaign. Mm-hmm. And it's still all being directed at us who do not have representation. And that's really the thing that bothers me the most is we don't have representation. That's what pisses me off.
Yeah. Last night I kind of went down this rabbit hole. I don't know what even made me want to do it, but so I went down the rabbit hole of like the Caucasian, the Caucasoid, the Negroid, and the Mongoloid. I don't know how, I don't know what I was even thinking. I don't know. I was trying to go to sleep and I ended up going down a rabbit hole of skulls and their skull shapes and all of this stuff. And I'm trying to figure out basically why the our fellow whites are so adamant about, you know, destroying the white man, the Caucasoid. And I don't know, like, this is what kind of fascinates me about Judaism. And then I also I want people to realize this. And it's like, whether you want to believe it or not, there are people that do. And the people that do believe this are, in my opinion, very dangerous. And so I went down the rabbit hole of like the whole Aryan and like where they came from. And well, I say they, I'm just talking, no. But anyway, so
did you find anything?
Well, I mean, mostly I was kind of looking at, I guess, the phenotypes, like what is an Aryan? What are their facial structures? What's like the Negroid skull, and what's their facial structure? And it's just really it's kind of peculiar because, you know, it's I don't know. I just think it kind of goes back to like, it goes biblical for me the more I look into it, and it really does seem like there was a split somewhere or another where you have like the Aryans, and then you have like the Semitic, and you have like the Negroid, we'll call it that. I guess that's a technical name, but it just I'm trying to figure out like, okay, where was that split? And then I'm also trying to figure out, okay, now why is it that the Caucasoid phenotype is the one that's being hammered? And it's religious, man. Like, I'm telling you, it kind of goes back to like the Jacob and Esau story. And I keep harping on this so hard, but I really do think there is something to that. And I'm just interested because I'm included in this Aryan race.
Yeah.
And so that's why, and of course, family, friends, my kids. And that's what kind of terrifies me is like, my God, like whether you want to believe this or not, people actually are out to destroy you. And I don't know where it was. I'm guessing I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet. I kind of passed out going down that rabbit hole.
It's okay. Here, I'll give you 2 things to think about. You remember the 613 mitzvahs, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And you remember the one that specifically said that the seed of Amalek, the descendants of Amalek, are to be destroyed.
Right. Yeah. Amalek is the Aryans. I'm pretty sure that's what the case is. At least that's what it kind of seems to me. I'm
confident that this is the case.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the Bronze Age collapse?
I know the Bronze Age, but not the collapse. You have to fill me in.
Okay, so like 1,000 years before the classic Greek era is like the Bronze Age, basically. And apparently there was a near total collapse of the various civilizations. They went from flourishing to just nothing in short order. There's a lot of speculation as to why. Why did they collapse? What happened? And no one knows. And it's my speculation that Deuteronomy 7 may have something to do with it. I think that, and what that suggests is that this split goes back into antiquity. It goes back like before there was recorded history. That's my honest opinion. I think this is an age-old issue that we have basically forgotten about within our parents' lifetime. Yeah.
I think so too. And it's kind of it's interesting because like never before have I read the Bible. Well, I guess prior to this year, but as I start to read it, it's like, oh my God, this is kind of a history book. If you recognize the language and I guess the rhetoric that's kind of behind it, you start to understand history a lot better. And you probably the same way, but then I've been listening to rabbis. And man, these people are fucking crazy. Like talking about, like that one I can't get out of my head. He's talking about Amalek, or they're German. Like they pretty much put Amalek as they're the German people.
Yeah.
And they're going to destroy.
So casually. They say it casually, like, by the way.
No big deal. Yeah. My God. But yeah, I mean, they're saying things like, you want to destroy them before they even have a chance to destroy you. They might or might not destroy you, but just to be sure, we're going to destroy them first. And like, you hear that kind of language, like, what are you people? Like, you're genocidal maniacs, you know?
I know.
Well, there was a part in, there's a verse in Genesis 27, and it's right when Isaac, sorry, I don't mean to like Bible post your stream here, but I just thought it was kind of interesting. But after, so you know the story with Jacob and Esau, and Isaac gives Jacob the blessing because it was stolen. The mischievous, conniving Jacob steals his birthright from his brother, but eventually Esau goes in and asks his father for a blessing, and his father actually does give him one. And it says, he said to him, and I'm in Genesis 27, starting a little bit in 39. Behold, away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. And like, man, I read that like, okay, there's still hope. There's still hope. And then when I'm watching these hearings happening, and it's like all they're doing is trying to legislate more and more and more. They're giving us more laws that we have to follow. God forbid you don't follow them, you criminal. And then like, but all it's doing is just it's putting that yoke on our necks. It's just tighter and tighter and heavier and heavier, and eventually there's going to be it's too much, and we're going to break free of it. And that's what I'm saying. Like they better be careful. And this isn't a threat. This is more of like a wake up call. Like these people better be extremely careful, because once people wake up to this, it's like that poem when the Anglo starts to hate, or when the Anglo begins to hate. Like, are they not aware of this? Or like, what is their game plan here? I don't know. What do you think?
The only thing that makes sense is that it's a subconscious thing that's happening. Kind of like how with me, I like to just tinker with ideas for some reason. I don't know why. I just like to kind of muddle around and think about things for I don't know what reason. I just do. And I can't help it. It's just reflexive. And I was born that way. You know, I've always been that way. You know, when I was a little kid, some other kid on the playground, he had a paper airplane that was really cool. You know, it did weird stuff, and I thought it was neat. First thing I did was I found a way to get a hold of it, and I reverse engineered it so that I could construct it. I still remember how to make that thing too. I haven't made one since I was a teenager, probably, but I still remember how to make that thing. But yeah, like, I don't know why, you know, people just have things that are somehow in them. You know, artists like to represent things for some reason, and it's just what they like to do. And I think that there are issues with, like, entire groupings of people, like Germans, for some reason. They seem to be pretty good at engineering for some reason. You know, and Anglos, I don't know what the hell, Anglos are good at empire building, I guess. You know, great.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, I kind of went down that rabbit hole, and of course, well, I have one of Graham Hancock's books I haven't read yet, but it's The Magicians of the Gods. And I don't know if he talks about it in there, but the rabbit hole I went down, it was talking about the Mesopotamians and how they're probably Aryans. And Aryan doesn't necessarily mean like the blonde hair, the blue eye. I mean, it's a feature, of course, but it's more of the bone structure in the face and the position of the brain, and even your phalanges and whatnot. You know, it's like it all kind of takes effect. But apparently, I guess one of the theories is even the Mesopotamians, they were actually Aryans, because they were the first ones to build like a functioning civilization, which was like, damn. We was kings, you know? It's like
well,
that,
also
like that meme, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've more or less decided that Egypt was basically white people, and sadly they went in the direction of essentially globo homo, and they're like, let's give everything to the slaves, and then they got overrun, and now Egypt is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the same thing
did
actually happened.
You know what's really interesting?
Oh, here, I'll finish up this one thing. I think the same thing happened in Asia.
Go ahead.
In Asia, same thing. Seriously, I think that in Asia the exact same thing happened, because there are ancient mummies, some featuring like red and blonde hair in China.
Yeah,
and the Chinese government hate it.
In my rabbit hole search last night, a lot of Asians actually have like Aryan features with the shape of the face and the hands and the body structure and whatnot. So it's not, like I said, it's not like Aryan doesn't mean blonde hair, blue eyes. I think that's eventually what happened. But Aryans, of course, like they came in all different colors, but they all have the same facial features, like the shape of the forehead, the canthal tilt, the measurements, like the symmetry on the face. It's all very Aryan. And even like you can have a black supermodel and she will still have Aryan features. You know, like she's not going to have that, for lack of a better term, the Negroid look per se. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I actually I knew a chick. She was midnight black, and she actually was pretty hot. And damnedest thing, she had like straight ahead Aryan features. You know, and like
yeah. She probably, because she's Aryan. That's what's so interesting. It's like, yeah, because it is in her.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. I had no idea at all. But apparently, it's like it kind of originated. I guess it was in the Middle East, and then eventually migrated to India. And apparently, they helped the Indians, the Red Dot Indians, build their civilization. And then a lot of them migrated to to Europe and whatnot. And then it's probably it's not really, well, I guess it is kind of natural selection. I guess how skin colors and hair color and eye colors change and whatnot over time, and with the to adapt to your surroundings. But yeah, it does seem like the Aryans are singled out here. And I don't know, I was more or less on a hunt, like why. And then of course I went down another, like I went basically autistic last night. Looking into it, but it was really fascinating. I thought it was great.
Hey, if you come up with any cool stuff, you know, let me know. I'll listen.
Yeah, I don't know. I was more or less just kind of looking. What's hard is like you can't really find too many reliable sources per se, because, well, I guess with the algorithm you start hitting things that were like, well, if you even type in Aryan, the first thing you get is white nationalists in America is on the rise, and it's a threat, you know. And
you're like, that's not what I wanted to research. Fucking Google.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, it wasn't that the other part of the hearing is they're talking about, well, the big tech companies need to step up and listen to us, listen to our laws, or listen to our standards, and they need to oblige by our standards. It's like, screw you fucking people. Like, who are you? Who are you?
This, by the way, is what a certain city worker in the sanitation department was talking about when he was saying that he thinks that we should start getting books with low acid books.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's kind of disappointing for me. Like probably 3 years ago, I got a Kindle for my birthday, and I probably got, oh my God, probably 30 something or more books on my Kindle. So it's like, oh damn it, like I don't have that many physical books in my hand. I just read it, my Kindle. It's a lot easier to take anywhere, read it at night. And like I just kind of hit me like, damn, I really don't have any books. So now it's like my thing is no more Kindle, just buy books and keep on buying them. Like if you see something that's, like buy Orwell, buy Solzhenitsyn, buy all these great writers.
Yeah.
They're gonna start the book burning soon. Apparently they already are. What saw it on Twitter where they had like a big dumpster full of books and they're like burning all types of stuff. I don't know where it was, but I don't know. It's coming. And
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's kind of terrifying because, I got in not a stat, but there was a person on Twitter and she responded to something because I retweeted the New Zealand, they're trying to buy back guns. And as far as I know, it's not mandatory, but something like, I think the number is 19,000 people. I don't know. I don't know if that was the right number. You have to double check me. Sorry. It's like 3 a.m. where I am. But yeah, they had people turning in their guns. Like, no, we don't need this anymore. Like, I don't have to use it.
Oh my God.
They're just handing their guns over. And somebody responded after I retweeted, it's like, well, Americans, they're all talk and they don't do anything. In a way, she's kind of right. Again, not Fed posting, but she had a point. Like, well, Americans, they're all they do is talk about. Well, if they try to come for our guns, and blah blah blah, they'll be killed if somebody try to my gun, they'll be met at the door with a gun type talk. And in a way, she's kind of right. I don't see anybody pissed off about this. Maybe they're not able to recognize it. I don't know. And I can't fault them for it when they're using terms like white supremacy and white nationalism, and it's bad because Holocaust, and it's bad because KKK, you know? And so I think what's kind of disheartening is when normies hear this type of language and rhetoric, it doesn't really resonate with them, because it seems what they're saying, these ADL workers, what they're saying seems reasonable, and like, yeah, you know, let's just ban white supremacy, let's ban white nationalism, and let's ban guns while we're at it, because white nationalists and white supremacists can get those bad things. And that part to me is it's just disheartening. Like, man, like, how do you not see this? I don't understand how people can't see it.
Well, okay, so leftism is, this is going to sound so terrible. This is going to sound awful, but leftists don't have an amygdala that functions the way that everyone else's does. So they're not good at identifying threats. They're really bad at threat identification. This is also why they're fucking rubes, and why they believe authority figures, because they don't have threat detection. So lies actually do work on them. Propaganda totally works on them. So with a leftist, you're dealing with a person that, like, if you show them a snake, they really don't know what to do. So that's the main issue. That's the main issue. And the people that are in charge of government are the leftists, which is suck, but whatever.
Mm-hmm. And I sent you that video. Didn't I send you that one video that was sent to me from YouTube? The what was that test? It was basically like a compliance test. And,
the Milgram experiment.
Yeah, the Milgram experiment. Yeah, but so in that experiment, what was that, back in the 50s? they said 50% of people are going to go to the end and listen to what they're told. They don't care if the other person on the other end is screaming in pain. They're going to do what they're told. And in reality, it's probably even worse. And I did a stream on this, was it yesterday? I don't know. Yeah, I guess yesterday I did a stream, and it's talking about like people in the military. If they're going to get an order that's tyrannical or even, you know, treasonous, are they going to follow it? Or are they going to be able to recognize an order that is treasonous for what it is, and be willing to say, no, I'm not doing that? And that's what kind of terrifies me, is like, man, if people are so compliant, then they'll do anything. And then you have military. Even if you just take half of the military, I don't know if that's going to be enough, but I don't know, man. Like, I've been reading Gulag Archipelago, and it's fucking terrifying me. Like, talking about the blue caps. Jesus Christ, dude.
Well, I want to hear about that. Not now, but I just want to throw in something that's worth mentioning. Niccolo Machiavelli, he had this big thing. I'm pretty sure Sun Tzu had the same, which was, don't hire mercenaries. Do not hire mercenaries, because mercenaries are an unknown quantity. And so a mercenary would be within the context of, say, a kingship wanting a particular military action to be performed. It's better to get people from within your own population, as opposed to an out-group, mercenaries.
Right.
It's my opinion that the U.S. military is slowly becoming a mercenary group. And the reason for that is because many of the people that are entering the military are not born here. Right.
Yep. And I can attest to that. Yep. Yeah. You're right. Yep. You are right there. Well, a lot of them, you'll have an immigrant come in, and the quickest way to get your green card is join the military. So I don't know, 3 to 5 years, it is an average length of your orders or your contract. So, like, what is that in order to get your green card, which could take, I don't know, 10 years or something, over exaggerating. But yeah, it's the quickest way to get a green card for sure. And yeah, that's pretty disheartening. I had a guy in my division when I was in the Navy boot camp. I had a guy in my division that was Chinese, and the guy literally spoke like maybe 10 words of English. I couldn't believe it. And he couldn't swim.
Okay.
Which is kind of funny in a way. There was a lot of people, all blacks. So I had just about every single black person that was in my division, and the Asian person. They're the only ones that could not swim. And so we, of course, I don't know, anybody would join the Navy if you can't swim, but we go to this giant pool and this really high diving board, and these idiots like go up there and they jump off, and then somebody has to like come and rescue them because they can't fucking swim.
That's ridiculous.
That's their best. There's our U.S. military right there. Shame. It's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah. So when you talk about the question of if they were to be given orders, remember that the orders to deal with the American population, those orders would be given to people who are not Heritage America. Right.
Yeah. Well, I think the other aspect, and like, well, I won't go into all of it, but I'll give you like a quick rundown of what the Solzhenitsyn, what he kind of described were the blue caps, and it was basically kind of average Joes off the street, and then they put on this blue cap, and they kind of have the authority. So they would walk around the gulag, basically giving orders to everybody, and it's total psychological mind warfare. And so they'll take an average Joe kind of loser off the street, put him in a position of power. And then, of course, anybody that's a loser and they get power, they're going to want to exert that power in every way they can. So, and then, of course, they don't have an issue taking orders from even higher ups in the blue caps and harming people and torturing people or shooting them in the back of the head, you know. And I think that's it can also happen here because humans are going to human, you know, like human nature doesn't change. And you give, you know, an order to somebody in the military that's either very compliant or, you know, an immigrant that's not even American. You give them an order to, hey, go into this person's house, take their weapon. They violated the law. They're going to do it. And, you know, and I kept hearing at the hearing, they kept mentioning the word reconcile, like, whites need to reconcile the issue at hand here. Like, what? Really? Is it that bad? Is it really that bad? And it's like, my worry is, are people going to reconcile and be able to distinguish orders, like a good, true, morally virtuous order versus treason? And every time I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, George Carlin had one of the greatest quotes about like stupid people. He's like, if you think about it, half of the people are really, like, half of the people are dumb, and then think about it, half of them are even dumber than that. And it's like, those are the ones that are going to be taking orders, and they're going to do it gleefully and joyfully because, hey, they're in a position of power, and now somebody's going to listen to them. And that whole idea is like, oh man, that's what really scares me.
Yeah, no, same. It's why I still want out of the cities, because in a worst case scenario, this place just fucking goes up in flames.
Or you get like typhus or something. I saw where that one guy, he always like LARPs as a conservative. He's gay, has that really long hair. It's like, this is Scott so-and-so. We are here in LA and we're going to clean up all this trash. And bless his heart, like, hey, you know what? I'll give credit where it's due. Bless his heart for going there and at least trying. Like, I give him credit. He's trying to do something. But it's not going to help. Like, bless his heart, it's not going to help. You got rats running around. Typhus is breaking out. The bubonic plague is probably going to come back.
Yeah.
Like, man, you got to get out of there. Obviously, you know that, and you don't need me to tell you, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is that there's some standing water, like... a little ways away. Like, it's just close enough that we do get mosquitoes here sometimes. So the moment you're talking about mosquitoes, it's like, well, there it is. There's your bloodborne disease getting around. So like when I see mosquito, like when I used to see mosquitoes, I would just be like, God, I fucking hate mosquitoes. Now I see mosquitoes and I'm like, please don't have fucking typhus, please.
Yes. Damn, wait, so well, when I was living in California, that was something I didn't really see much of was mosquitoes. Do you have them pretty bad down in LA? But I was living in the Bay Area. I don't know if the climate's a little different. I
It's
don't
only
know.
because of the standing water, and that's it.
Oh, yeah, that will do it.
Yeah. So this is actually one of the reasons why I want to move to a couple of specific places, because there will be fewer mosquitoes and fewer people. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the one issue with the East Coast is you have the threat of Lyme disease with the ticks or tons of mosquitoes, and they're really bad. And usually, well, apparently, wherever it's actually really cold, the mosquitoes are like 10 times worse. I had no idea. So, like in Texas, it's excruciatingly hot. The winters, like it doesn't snow there, of course, but in the summertime, like there's no mosquitoes, surprisingly. But like I'm in the Midwest right now temporarily, and like the winters, they just had a solar vortex this past winter, and man, the mosquitoes are horrendous here. Like they are awful. I had no idea. But yeah, apparently wherever it's like Alaska, wherever it gets really, really cold, mosquitoes come out in like droves. It's crazy. Damn, yeah. I hope you don't get bit, man. That would suck, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it would. Tremendously. No, I don't want to deal with it.
Okay, well, mosquito bit me.
What's that? What? I missed.
No, I was saying like, oh, I don't know, Eke. I said, how'd you get typhus? Like, oh, mosquito bit me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a bummer.
What a lame story that is. How did you get some life-threatening disease? Well, I happen to live in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
That's what happened.
Yeah. That's the absolute, it's like the absolute state of LA.
Oh, God.
Tragic. Absolute tragedy.
Yeah.
Anyway, well,
you know.
All right, well, it's 3 a.m, but I was hoping I'd sober up and get rid of this headache, and it is. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like cut your stream.
No, it's fine. Here, actually, okay, so the alcohol is going to dehydrate you, and it's also going to take out the vitamins and the minerals. So I have found.
I know. Oh, I need water.
No, yeah, the two number do not have aspirin. That's actually really bad for you. It'll fuck up the lining of your stomach if you take it with alcohol. So whatever. Anyway, no, to get rid of the headache, have a shitload of water, and also have some like cantaloupe or avocado fruit or fresh vegetable, something with a lot of vitamins and minerals. The darker the better. Blueberries are good too, obviously. So the idea is to replenish the water and to replenish the vitamins and minerals. Have a little bit of salt too.
Yeah, I always keep the Himalayan salt. I put that in my coffee every morning. Oh my God. Well, I got to tell you about my coffee because you probably appreciate it. And it would be keto friendly minus the sugar. But and sorry, I'm going totally foodie on you right now. But if you have heavy whipping cream, whip it. And I whip it by hand, but I use heavy whipping cream with Himalayan salt, and you just whip it until it gets kind of thick, not stiff, but kind of thick, and then just pour that with your coffee and just mix it in. Oh my gosh, man, so good! But well, like actually, salted cream in your coffee is delicious. You would love it.
I'll try doing that. I'll try throwing a little salt in there. I do have. Every morning I use heavy cream. What is it? Calories, 50 calories from fat, 50. It's just a giant fucking load of fat. I love it. It's so good though. Yeah,
well, it's totally keto friendly. The more fat, the better.
Yeah, so tomorrow I might try throwing some salt into my coffee. Just see what happens.
I have a really good salt shaker, and so I have it like on the finest grain possible, so it'll mix even better, so I'm not getting like grains of salt in my heavy cream. But just put, if you have like a way to crush it fine, or to whatever, do it fine, then it mixes really well with heavy cream, and you won't get like crystals that you're chomping on or something. But yeah, try that.
Actually,
salted heavy cream.
I could put the salt in the coffee, and I could have the heat of the coffee dissolve the salt. So like
you could. You definitely could. I don't know, I just like the flavor, because when you whip the heavy cream, like the way I do it, it sets on the top, so it gives kind of like a foamy, frothy. Because I
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
air. Like I think it accentuates like the coffee, and I'm a snob. I use a French press.
No, I also use a French press.
Oh,
I
I'll
used
never go
to.
back, man. You can't beat a French
No,
press.
same. There's a coffee that I used to get, and I can't afford it anymore. But it was like $20 for about 12 ounces, so pretty
Wow,
expensive. Pretty
that is
expensive.
really expensive. They got gold flecks on it too.
Just about, yeah. And the coffee, I'm not gonna lie, was stellar. It was so
Oh
good.
man.
And it was so good that I would drink it black. Nothing else, just the
Oh,
straight ahead coffee. And this is going to sound kind of weird, but in its own way, it almost tasted like hot fruit juice. It was so good.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, like good coffee has almost like a sweet taste to it. Almost, if you get really good
yeah, yeah.
coffee,
Well,
you can taste
because
like the sweetness.
I discovered the secret is to get a blonde roast. That's the secret. A lot
Mm.
of people, they talk about dark roast. That's bullshit. Dark roast just destroys all flavor. So it's just like with a steak. If you burn the fucking steak, there goes the flavor. Goodbye. Have fun. You're eating
Yeah, that's
charcoal.
true. Yeah, or
So
toast. Like you can't eat burnt toast. Like it fucking
exactly.
sucks.
Coffee is the same way. There is a sweet spot where it's cooked enough that you actually do have proper coffee. And it's not so dark that you lose flavor. So what you want is medium to light. That's the ideal. And this place, they had like their coffee, well, whatever. I could go into it. It's not a big deal. It was expensive for a reason. That's really what it comes down to. And I miss it so much. I used to have that with my French press, or I used to use a French press on that every morning. And now I've kind of scaled back, so I don't have really good coffee anymore, and I'm kind of bummed about that. And once I get into a position to be able to get good coffee again, I'm probably just going to get Black Rifle coffee just for the sake of it.
A really good brand. It's pretty cheap, but actually I like it. But they sell it at Target. The brand's called Javalia. Oh, maybe
Oh,
you've
yeah.
heard it, but they make it. They because I used to just grind my own coffee, but I just don't have time anymore. But yeah, Javalia makes a pretty good brand of coffee, and they also sell like the coarse ground that are made, so it's made for French press. So it's like really convenient. But the coffee's pretty damn good, actually.
Hmm.
So they have like Guatemalan blends or what is it? I don't know. I don't know, but it's good. Yeah, check out Javalia. That's a pretty good one.
I think it'd be cool to make coffee in America somehow. Coffee comes from all these weird places on the planet. I think we kind of need to have like American grown coffee.
Yeah, make like a real Americana.
Yeah.
American coffee. I don't even know I don't know the first thing about it. I don't know if it's like, because I know it's like one of those, like the wine growers, like they grow up the type of soil we use for our wine, and the altitude and the water we give it, and the time we pick the grapes. I think coffee's kind of the same way, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. If I recall correctly, there actually is like a specific altitude for coffee that's good.
Yeah.
And here in America, my understanding is that it's actually not ideal here in America.
Mm.
So we would have like really substandard coffee. For me, it would just be a lark, just a thing like a
Yeah.
novelty. You'd have like a greenhouse for the coffee plant,
Yeah.
and you would only ever have like enough coffee for like a couple of pots here
Yeah.
and there. That'd be about it.
Americans, we're going to feed the world with our GMO foods and our factory farming, but
Yeah.
not coffee. We're not going to give them coffee.
No, no, no. It's not gonna be
It just
coffee.
seems a little bizarre.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, anyhow, I don't want to keep you, so go and get some water and
Yeah.
vegetables or something.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's always nice to talk to you.
No,
But,
no, for sure,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Have a good one, and cheers. Thanks for popping by.
Yeah. Night, okay.
Yeah, cheers. All right, so that was good old Ash hijacking the stream, talking about food. because food. So there you go. I am also tired, and I think I'm gonna go and do a thing tonight, but I'm not sure if I do the thing it'll be fantastic, so I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, I'd like to go ahead and thank everyone for popping by, and also thanks to all three of you for getting into your sock accounts and giving an extra thumbs up. God knows, we here at Ekelux live streams, we need all 3 likes. Anyway, alright, yeah, I'm gonna let out. So, okay. Standard outro. Rule. I didn't do any case streaming, but we'll pretend that I did. I do actually advocate firearms ownership. I do think it's a good thing. So get out there and plink. And if you are going to plink, I think it's a great idea to have in your mind the 4 rules of firearm safety as outlined by Jeff Cooper. Rule number 1, always treat every firearm like it is loaded. Rule number 2, never cover or sweep anything that you are not willing to destroy. Rule number 3, your finger stays off of the trigger until your sights are on target. And the 4th and final rule is be aware of your target and what's beyond it. Safety first. And with that, I am going to let out, and I'm not going to play an album. In fact, I am just going to plop down to sleep. Now that I think about it, I'm probably not going to go out and do the thing, even though I really want to. It sounds great, but I just don't have the energy for it. So I think I guess if I'm not going to do the thing, then I can play an album. That'll give me enough time to deal in my ritual, my standard ritual. So there you go. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm not going to do the thing tonight. I might do it tomorrow night. We'll see what happens. Okay, there we are. I'm going to play the outro track and then decide upon an album. So there you go. Alright, guys. Cheers. I'll see everyone in the chats. Remember to brush and floss. We have a great album coming up. I have no idea what it's going to be, but it'll be a great album that we can use for theme music as we engage in good old dental hygiene. Alright, guys. Cheers.
Bye.